The signal appeared on Dr. Sarah Chen's monitor at 3:47 a.m. on a cold December morning. At first, she dismissed it as another anomaly, one of countless false positives that plagued deep space monitoring. But something about its regularity, its perfect mathematical precision, made her pause before logging it as background noise. The young astrophysicist had spent the last 5 years at the Global Deep Space Initiative, searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Her colleagues had long since moved on to more practical research, leaving her alone with the facility's aging array of radio telescopes. They called it a waste of resources. She called it humanity's most important mission. The signal pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, following a pattern that seemed to defy natural explanation. As she analyzed the data, her hands trembling with excitement and fear, she realized she was looking at something that would change humanity forever. The message encoded within the signal was clear. We were not alone, and we were not safe. Dr. Chen's discovery revealed a vast network of civilizations spanning the galaxy, united under what they called the Helios Confederation. But this was no peaceful alliance seeking diplomatic relations. Encrypted within the signal were tactical communications, military coordinates, and most alarmingly, detailed scans of Earth's defensive capabilities. The Confederation saw Earth as nothing more than another primitive world to be added to their collection. Their communications revealed a disturbing pattern. They had done this countless times before, absorbing or eliminating civilizations they deemed technologically inferior. Their method was always the same. First contact, then demands for submission, and finally, for those who resisted, annihilation. But they had made one crucial mistake. In their arrogance, they believed their encryption to be unbreakable by primitive species. They hadn't counted on Dr. Chen's breakthrough in quantum computing, a technology she had developed in secret while supposedly working on radio astronomy. Her quantum algorithm didn't just decrypt their communications. It gave humanity unprecedented access to the Confederation's entire tactical network. As government leaders gathered in an emergency session to discuss the impending threat, Dr. Chen made another discovery that would change everything. Hidden within the Confederation's technical specifications was a fundamental flaw in their understanding of quantum mechanics. Their entire technological superiority was built on an incomplete model of reality. "They're wrong," she announced to the stunned Emergency Council. "Their entire approach to quantum field manipulation is based on a flawed assumption. They've built an empire on only half the equation." She pulled up a complex series of calculations on the main display. "We don't need to match their technology. We can transcend it." The council chambers erupted in heated debate. Some argued for immediate diplomatic contact, others for strengthening conventional defenses. But Dr. Chen's voice cut through the chaos with quiet certainty. "We have something they don't expect, something they can't even comprehend. Give me 6 months, and I'll give humanity a fighting chance." What followed was the most ambitious scientific undertaking in human history. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, in a facility masked from orbital detection, Dr. Chen led a team of the world's brightest minds in developing a weapon that defied conventional physics. They called it the Quantum Inverse Field Generator, or QIFG. The technology worked by exploiting the very flaw in the Confederation's understanding of quantum mechanics, where their ships manipulated quantum fields through brute force. The QIFG could subtly reshape the underlying fabric of space-time itself. In theory, it could turn their own technological superiority into a devastating weakness. But theory wasn't enough. They needed a delivery system, a way to deploy the QIFG against the Confederation's fleet without revealing its true nature. And so Project Phoenix was born, humanity's greatest deception and last hope for survival. As Dr. Chen watched the first prototype take shape in the underground facility, she couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Confederation's greatest weakness wasn't their flawed understanding of quantum mechanics. It was their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They would look at Earth's apparent technological level and see exactly what they expected to see: a primitive civilization ripe for conquest. They would never suspect that their next target had already broken their codes, understood their weaknesses, and developed a weapon that could turn their own technology against them. As she ran her hand along the outer hull of humanity's secret weapon, Dr. Chen smiled. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in appearing weak. The Phoenix rose slowly from its underground berth, its movements deliberately awkward and hesitant. As it climbed through the atmosphere, broadcasting easily interceptable communications and leaving an excessive ion trail, no one watching would suspect that this apparently primitive vessel carried within it humanity's greatest technological achievement and their best hope for survival. Dr. Chen watched from the control room as the ship disappeared into the night sky. The first phase of their plan was in motion. Now they would see if humanity's greatest gambit, appearing weak while holding unprecedented power, would be enough to save Earth from the coming storm. The Confederation's advanced scout fleet materialized at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, their quantum drives leaving ripples in space-time that the Phoenix's sensors detected long before visual confirmation. Captain Rodriguez watched the tactical display as 5 sleek vessels, each nearly a kilometer in length, arranged themselves in the Confederation's standard reconnaissance formation. "They're making quite a show of it," Lieutenant Wei commented from his sensor station, broadcasting their arrival on all frequencies. "They want us to see them coming." The young officer's fingers danced across his console, analyzing the enemy ship's energy signatures. Their quantum field emissions are exactly as Dr. Chen predicted. They're not even trying to mask their technology. Captain Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The Confederation's arrogance was working in their favor. The enemy ships were broadcasting their superiority like a beacon, confident that their technology was beyond human comprehension. They had no idea that every quantum pulse they emitted was being carefully analyzed by the Phoenix's advanced sensors, revealing crucial details about their field harmonics. "Begin Phase 1, Rodriguez ordered. "Let's give them something to look at." The Phoenix emerged from behind a small planetoid, its movements deliberately clumsy. The ship's outer hull had been configured to appear damaged, with visible patches and crude repairs. Their propulsion system was operating at minimal efficiency, leaving an excessive ion trail that any first-year cadet would recognize as the mark of poor engine maintenance. "They're scanning us," Wei reported, suppressing a grin. "Their quantum sensors are passing right through our hull disguise, just as Dr. Chen predicted. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. Primitive technology barely holding together." The Confederation's response was swift and predictable. One of their ships, clearly designated as a command vessel, broke formation and approached the Phoenix. Their transmission cut through all frequencies, broadcast in perfectly translated English, another display of technological superiority. "Attention, primitive vessel," the message began, its tone dripping with condescension. "You have entered space under the protection of the Helios Confederation. Your technological level has been assessed as Category 7, barely capable of interstellar travel. Submit to immediate inspection and prepare for integration into the Confederation's guided development program." Rodriguez signaled Communications Officer Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen, to respond. Their reply was transmitted using deliberately outdated protocols, filled with static and signal degradation. "This is Earth Vessel Phoenix requesting clarification. Our systems are experiencing difficulties understanding your transmission. Please repeat." The response was immediate and exactly what they had hoped for. The Confederation command ship moved closer, its quantum fields pulsing with increased power as it prepared to establish a forced communications link, a standard procedure for dealing with primitive species. "Now," Rodriguez ordered quietly. Deep within the Phoenix, the quantum inverse field generator activated. To the Confederation sensors, it would appear as nothing more than random energy fluctuations from their failing systems. But each fluctuation was precisely calculated, creating subtle distortions in the quantum fields that the enemy ship was generating. The effect was almost imperceptible at first. The Confederation ship's energy readings began to fluctuate slightly, something their crew would likely attribute to interference from the Phoenix's crude technology. But with each passing moment, the QIFG was learning, adapting, understanding the precise frequencies and patterns of their quantum field technology. They're launching probes, Wei reported. Standard first contact protocol for their dealing with Category 7 civilizations. They'll try to establish direct control over our systems. Rodriguez nodded. This was the moment of truth. As the probes approached, the Phoenix appeared to panic, firing its conventional weapons in a display of primitive desperation. The energy beams dispersed harmlessly against the Confederation ship's quantum shields, exactly as expected. "They're sending a response," Chen announced. "Audio and visual on all channels." The face that appeared on their main screen was exactly what humanity had come to expect from their intercepted communications. The Confederation commander was humanoid but clearly alien, with iridescent scales covering their facial features and multiple sets of eyes arranged in a symmetrical pattern. Their expression was one of practiced patience, like an adult dealing with a particularly slow child. "Your resistance is both futile and unnecessary," the commander stated. "The Helios Confederation offers guidance to developing species. Accept our authority, and your civilization will be elevated under our supervision. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate the consequences of defiance." Rodriguez stood from her command chair, playing her role perfectly. "Please," she said, allowing fear to creep into her voice. "We're a research vessel. We mean no harm. Our weapons systems activated automatically. We can't even control them properly." The Confederation commander's expression shifted to one of amused pity. "Your technological inadequacy is evident. Prepare for boarding. We will begin by upgrading your primitive control systems." As the Confederation ship extended its quantum field to envelop the Phoenix, preparing for forced entry, Rodriguez gave the order they had all been waiting for. "Initiate Protocol Omega." The QIFG spun up to full power, its field harmonics perfectly attuned to the Confederation's technology after minutes of careful analysis. What happened next would become the stuff of legend in both human and Confederation space. The Phoenix's apparently primitive hull began to absorb the enemy's quantum field, not through resistance, but through perfect resonance. It was like watching a master martial artist use an opponent's strength against them. The more power the Confederation ship poured into their boarding attempt, the more the QIFG turned that energy back upon itself. The last thing the Confederation commander saw before their quantum systems began to fail was Captain Rodriguez's expression changing from fear to calm confidence. In that moment, they realized their mistake, but it was already too late. The Phoenix had drawn first blood in humanity's fight for survival, and they had done it not with superior firepower, but with the one weapon the Confederation never expected: the ability to turn their own technological arrogance against them. News of the scout ship's defeat spread through the Confederation's command structure like wildfire. The initial reports were met with disbelief, then dismissal, and finally rage. How could a primitive vessel, barely capable of interstellar flight, have disabled one of their advanced scout ships? The official explanation, hastily assembled by Confederation analysts, painted a picture of an unfortunate accident. The human vessel's crude technology had created unexpected resonance patterns in their quantum fields, causing a temporary system failure. It was deemed a fluke, a one-in-a-million occurrence that only reinforced the need to bring these dangerous primitives under proper control, exactly as humanity had planned. In the war room beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Chen and Admiral Martinez watched the Confederation's response unfold. "They're following the profile perfectly," Chen noted, studying the intercepted communications. "Their pride won't allow them to consider that we might have actually defeated them through superior technology." The Admiral nodded, his expression grim. "And now they'll send everything they have, not just to conquer us, but to prove their supremacy. Pride is a deadly weakness." The Phoenix had returned to Earth, apparently limping home with severe damage. In reality, the ship's systems had performed beyond their most optimistic projections. The QIFG had not only disabled the Confederation scout ship, but had also gathered crucial data about their quantum field technologies. Dr. Chen's team worked around the clock, refining their systems based on this new information. Captain Rodriguez stood before the United Earth Defense Council, delivering her report on the encounter. The session was being broadcast on frequencies they knew the Confederation could intercept, carefully crafted to reinforce their deception. The alien vessel's attack caused severe damage to our systems, she reported, her voice trembling slightly for the benefit of their audience. We only escaped because their energy field somehow interacted with our engines in an unexpected way. We recommend immediate development of defensive capabilities. The Council's response was equally scripted. They authorized the construction of a defensive fleet, ships that would appear to be hasty copies of the Phoenix, deliberately incorporating visible flaws and inefficiencies. Each vessel would be equipped with a QIFG, disguised as primitive attempts to replicate the accidental success of the Phoenix. The Confederation's response was swift and massive. Their main battle fleet, comprising over 300 ships, began moving toward Earth. Their communications were filled with discussions of how to handle humanity's dangerous incompetence with technology. They planned to make an example of Earth, to show the galaxy the price of resisting their benevolent guidance. They're deploying in a Theta pattern assault formation, Lieutenant Wei reported, monitoring the fleet's approach from the Phoenix's sensor station. They're not even trying to hide their movements. They want us to see them coming, to understand the futility of resistance. The Earth's defensive fleet gathered in high orbit, 20 ships arranged in deliberately poor tactical positions. Their communications were left largely unencrypted, allowing the Confederation to intercept their nervous chatter and poor coordination. To any observer, it would appear to be the last desperate stand of a primitive species that had gotten lucky once and was about to learn the price of defiance. Dr. Chen made final adjustments to the QIFG network that linked all 20 ships. Each vessel's quantum field generator was calibrated to work in perfect harmony with the others, creating a web of interlocking fields that would be invisible to Confederation sensors. It was like setting up a complex series of dominoes. Once the first piece fell, the chain reaction would be unstoppable. All ships report ready, Communications Officer Chen announced on the Phoenix's bridge. The Confederation fleet will be within engagement range in 6 hours. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display, watching the massive enemy fleet approach. Everything hinged on timing now. They had to maintain the deception until the perfect moment, had to appear weak and uncoordinated until the trap was fully set. Send the final message, she ordered. The transmission went out on all frequencies, deliberately encoded with easily breakable encryption. It appeared to be a desperate plea from Earth's leaders to the Confederation, offering partial submission in exchange for mercy. The message included details about Earth's defensive capabilities, all carefully crafted misinformation that would reinforce the Confederation's fatal assumptions. In the war room, Admiral Martinez watched the enemy fleet's response. They were adjusting their formation, spreading out to minimize the chance of another accident, like what had happened to their scout ship. In doing so, they were inadvertently positioning themselves perfectly for what was to come. They're so convinced of their superiority, Dr. Chen observed, that they can't even conceive of the possibility that we might be leading them into a trap. They think they're being clever, adapting to our primitive tactics. The Admiral's response was quiet, almost contemplative. In all their centuries of conquest, they'd never faced an enemy who could turn their own power against them. They've never needed to consider that possibility. Pride and power have blinded them to innovation. As the final hours ticked down, humanity's greatest deception neared its culmination. 20 seemingly primitive ships waited in Earth's orbit, appearing to tremble before the approach of the mighty Confederation fleet. Within each vessel, crews made final preparations, systems were checked and rechecked, and the QIFGs hummed with carefully contained power. The trap was set. Now all that remained was to spring it. The Confederation fleet filled Earth's sky like artificial stars, their massive ships arranged in perfect attack formation. 300 vessels, each a testament to centuries of technological dominance, prepared to deliver their lesson in humility to yet another primitive species that dared to resist their authority. Supreme Commander Vex Thor stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, watching the tactical display with an air of bored certainty. The human vessels before them were pathetic attempts at replicating the technology that had accidentally disabled one of their scout ships. Their desperate formation showed clear signs of hasty preparation and poor coordination. "Send the final warning," Vex Thor ordered. "Let them witness the full might of the Confederation before their inevitable surrender." The message broadcast across all frequencies, translated into every human language. "Your resistance ends now. Witness the price of defiance." The Confederation fleet began powering up their quantum field generators, creating a web of energy that would systematically disable Earth's defenses. Aboard the Phoenix, Captain Rodriguez watched the energy readings spike. "All ships, maintain position," she ordered, her voice steady. "Let them commit fully to the attack." The Confederation's first strike was overwhelming, a cascade of quantum fields designed to disable any technology in their path. To their sensors, the human fleet appeared to be struggling, their shields flickering and systems failing exactly as expected. That's when Captain Rodriguez gave the order that would change the course of galactic history: execute Protocol Phoenix. In an instant, the true nature of humanity's deception was revealed. The quantum fields generated by the Confederation fleet didn't disable the Earth ships. They empowered them. 20 QIFGs activated simultaneously, their fields perfectly calibrated to the enemy's frequency. Like a martial artist using an opponent's momentum, they turned the Confederation's own energy back against them. The effect was devastating and beautiful. The massive enemy fleet found their quantum fields twisted and redirected, each ship's power adding to the cascade effect. The more energy they poured into their attack, the more powerful the feedback loop became. "Impossible," Vex Thor shouted as warnings blared across his bridge. "They're nothing but primitives. Their technology is inferior." His crew scrambled to adjust their field harmonics, but every change they made was instantly analyzed and countered by the QIFG network. Dr. Chen's voice came over the Earth Fleet's command channel. "Their quantum field matrix is destabilizing. Push the advantage. Show them what true innovation looks like." The 20 Earth ships moved in perfect coordination, their formation shifting to create overlapping fields of influence. Each vessel was now a node in a vast quantum web, using the Confederation's own energy to strengthen their control over the battlefield. Confederation ships began losing power, their mighty engines falling silent as their quantum fields collapsed. Others found their weapon systems turning against them, energy discharges feeding back through their own shields. The proud fleet that had conquered countless civilizations was being systematically dismantled by technology they had dismissed as primitive. "This is Captain Rodriguez to all Confederation vessels." Her voice rang out clear and confident. "Your quantum fields have been compromised. Power down your systems, or they will be forcibly deactivated. The choice is yours." The response came in waves. First, the smaller ships, then the cruisers, and finally the massive dreadnoughts began powering down their systems. The mighty Confederation fleet hung motionless in Earth's orbit, neutralized not by superior firepower, but by human ingenuity. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Vex Thor faced the unthinkable: defeat at the hands of a species they had categorized as barely worthy of notice. "How?" he demanded as Captain Rodriguez's image appeared on his screen. "You're primitives. Your technology is inferior." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "You saw what you expected to see, Commander. Your certainty in your own superiority blinded you to the possibility that someone might have found a better way. Humanity didn't try to match your technology. We transcended it." In the aftermath of the battle, as Confederation ships were escorted to Earth's surface and their crews taken into custody, Dr. Chen stood in the war room looking at the tactical display. The quantum field readings told the story of their victory, not through brute force, but through understanding and innovation. Admiral Martinez joined her, his expression thoughtful. They'll never look at humanity the same way again. No, Chen agreed, but that's not what matters. What matters is that they'll never look at themselves the same way again. Pride and power made them stop innovating, stop questioning, stop learning. That was their real weakness. The news spread quickly across the galaxy. The mighty Helios Confederation, undefeated for centuries, had been brought low by a species they had dismissed as primitive. But more importantly, their defeat represented a fundamental shift in the balance of power. Earth's quantum inverse field technology represented a new path forward, one based not on brute force but on understanding and adaptation. As the sun rose over Earth's horizon, casting its light on the disabled Confederation fleet, humanity stepped onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as innovators. They had proved that true strength lies not in overwhelming power, but in the ability to think differently, to see beyond established limitations, and to turn apparent weakness into unprecedented strength. The age of Confederation dominance was over. The age of human innovation had begun.